So we're really curious about where the companies are educating new employees to improve their own mental health as part of onboarding.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, Lisa. I wonder if it is at the stage of the employee exhibiting problems. So, for instance, they're struggling with performance, they're making errors, or maybe it's attendance or behavioral issues. At that point, the line manager sort of starts to think, well, this is what we're offering in terms of the organization, but what is the individual doing to improve their own mental health and well-being?
And I think that's a biggie right now, isn't it? Because particularly with the current climate and hybrid working, remote working, and so on, how are companies equipping their employees to be able to look after their own mental health, know how to look after themselves when they haven't got people around them looking out for them?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's that word, isn't it? Responsibility. We all have responsibility for our own mental health. So break that up. The response. So the individual being able to respond to their own, inner emotions and feelings, what's going on there, and have the ability to improve them.
And I think also that if we help individuals take on some of that responsibility and become more accountable for themselves, then we're taking some of the pressure off managers, because they're getting they have a lot on their shoulders right now in terms of how they're supposed to be having this whole new skill set and confidence around how to manage people in a very different way of working. And they're often not equipped. We know the data around number of accidental managers. We need to help take some of the burden off them and equip more of the workforce as a whole.
Yeah, it sure is, isn't it? So it's a really big task, actually, being a line manager. And I think the consequence of the pandemic means that certainly I'm seeing a lot more severity of mental ill health. So it's about, as much as equipping the line manager to be able to manage people, it's about equipping the employees in terms of them being able to have conversations about their own mental health and well-being with their line manager. So it's an interesting piece, isn't it, about sharing this agenda of improvements of mental health and well-being. And the other thing I'd like to sort of raise here as well is looking beyond mental ill health.
Yes, which is something we talk a lot about, and I think this is such an important time to be focusing on that, because we've been talking about the applicants market. It's like there are so many people are now pushing back against their employers and saying, actually, this is no good for me anymore. I want to go somewhere where I'm valued and I'm looked after. And I think companies have really got to up their game in terms of what they're offering, and saying to employees, come and work with us because actually we put you first.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about recognition of values and, people having their own idea of what they want to get out of their working life. Maybe being more focused, more determined about that.
Absolutely. And I think also, I would say it helps pull an organisation together in terms of the number of different departments. You might have HR who seem to do the recruitment, but it's the contract side, and you've got different mental health first aiders, you've got managers.
Yeah, it always becomes part of the organisation purpose and aim itself, and that the organisation isn't there just to supply or deliver to their customers. They're also supplying and delivering internally to their employees. They're enhancing their employee life by the way that they're looking after them and helping the employee to look after themselves as well.
Yeah, and particularly around sort of digital working, remote working, being able to equipping employees to be able to push back and put boundaries around themselves and say, you know what, you're expecting too much of me. I need to prioritize myself right now. And that's got to be a key message coming from companies, that we're expecting you to do that.
I love that.
Brilliant.
Employees have a life outside of work, so they're not gaining all of their sense of fulfillment and satisfaction from work. There's some interesting articles out and about at the moment looking at work addiction.
Yes, and presenteeism still existing more than ever, even though people aren't working in the office, because there are no switch off times. It's all, digital working, we can carry on working, we need to be seen to be working.